गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। आज गना शॉट में हम देखेंगे अफगानिस्तान, इंडिया एंड द वे फॉरवर्ड। और इसके लिए मेरे साथ बात करने के लिए हैं अनंत मिश्रा। अनंत, वेलकम। I understand you're in Bangalore and I understand you're speaking to me from a Starbucks outlet having a good cup of coffee. How are you?
Certainly, sir. I'm all good, sir, and thank you for having me here, sir.
Oh, welcome anytime. And it's a pleasure to talk with you. Everyone knows Anant is one of my upcoming, scholars who's much into Middle East and Afghanistan and this area around. So, Anant,
Sir.
before we get into Afghanistan, I'd like to discuss the aftermath. What next in this, spat between Israel and Iran?
Sir.
Uh, Okay, all right, we'll spend about 10-15 minutes on that and then move ahead. Right,
Sir.
you know the
Sir.
situation where it is. So the first
Sir.
question which I'd like to ask you, and we'll build on that, is
Sir.
what are Iran's options going forward? Where does Iran stand in this whole affair now?
Sir, to be very honest, it was I wasn't. I'm one of those scholars who are have been viewing Tehran from a very long time. I've been not only from the perspective of Afghanistan, but also from the perspective of its greater aspirations in the Middle East. Now, sir, I found Tehran to be at the crossroads again. Now, Tehran has lost a vital strategic asset in Brigadier General Zahidi, which is a blow to its regional prestige. Now, you would remember, sir, it's not the first time that Tehran is here. We saw the killing of Qasim Soleimani in 2020. All eyes were on Tehran. How is it going to respond? And we all had our apprehensions. We all had our, I would say, there was a little tension even within different military establishments. What is going to, what is Tehran going to do? And so the question that all military analysts and scholars had in mind, whether Tehran would still retain its aspirations, whether this tarnishes its image, it loses its regional dominance in some way or the other, or it will continue to retain some level of pragmatism and avoid a full-scale conflict. So in this case, we all didn't see Tehran doing so in a way that we expected. Now, after playing a shadow war through proxies like Hezbollah, Iran, as we all know, did launch a direct attack on Israel, and this was for the first time. Although the drones and ballistic missiles and were intercepted with Israelis arrow system and with the projectiles falling here and there with the help of strategic partners. But to be very honest, sir, this is a tactical response that Tehran did, which also reflects a new regional strategy. Now, the options, as you talked about, sir, is more strategic in nature than tactical. We all know how Tehran responds. But at this point of time, as somebody who understands Tehran from that perspective, so I think it is going to realign, reassess its regional strategy with respect to the axis of resistance, which we all know is a coalition built around non-state violent groups to counter US and Israeli influence. They are probably going to have aggressive maneuvers to counter Tel Aviv's interests because killing of a strategic asset like Zahidi and the response that Tehran gave yesterday was not something IRGC or Tehran had not predicted. Now, the vulnerabilities that Tehran currently faces, it's the second strategic asset that has been neutralized. Now, it is at a point of time where it needs to think whether sustaining influence in the proxies is important, or, like, for example, the significance of embassy annexes. I mean, it's very clear what the embassy annexes, such as a consular facility, is used for. So it's for IRGC, it needs to make more sustainable approach. It may make a sustainable approach to protect its commanders who play a pivotal role in not
So
just
what you're saying
expanding
is
Tehran.
no, no. What
Sir,
you're saying is Iran finds itself a little vulnerable because it's spread too much.
Yes, sir,
Yes.
and it's a complex terrain.
And yeah,
The
so that's the
IRGC
first part.
commanders, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah, wait. Let's go one by one. Don't take off.
Sir, 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 sir,
Let's go one by one. So you find it,
sir,
Iran now, spread out. Okay.
sir, sir,
Second, it has its own vulnerabilities
sir,
internally.
it does, sir,
It does have. So in
it
this
does.
context, if it escalates the whole story, there are repercussions for it or there are gains for it.
No, that's very interesting, sir. Were there repercussions after the loss of strategic assets such as Brigadier General Zahidi? Zahidi is just a name. Qasim Soleimani is just a name. Qasim Soleimani are in numbers. You can replicate Qasim Soleimani. So, killing of a strategic asset is a loss, absolutely. But we have learned from Tehran, sir, that the loss can be that
Replace.
can yes, absolutely. So
Yeah, no. What
Zahidi
will it
is
do ahead? That's
now
the
the
point.
question is, right, sir. So there are hardliners in Tehran. With this, there are hardliners. There are hardliners who have said, okay, we call for a large scale retaliation, but Tehran is not going to go for it. Tehran has its own regional interest, which means that a large scale retaliation is against what Tehran expects or aims to achieve in the Middle East. It has already proved its ability to retaliate through this strike. It has at some point of time in this I would say through this act it has silenced its hardliners. Now the point is, does it aim to go something broader, or does it aim to let's say react in such a way that it undermines or the equation undermines the regional stability, or perhaps it prevents Israel from achieving its strategic goals. So the
Okay.
idea that I think,
So,
sir, is Tehran is going to have a balanced strategy, sir. That is what I aim
okay,
to.
so you're going to have a balanced strategy.
It will
So
have to
you
have
feel,
balance.
yeah, but escalation can't be ruled out.
Sir, Tehran does not. And I'm predicting on the basis of the trajectory of what situations
Yeah,
have
yeah, that's
happened.
okay.
Sir. So it is not in the interest of Tehran to escalate
To escalate.
because
Okay, so that is right. Yeah, I'll
right.
go with you. I want to go. No, don't go into long explanations today.
Sir,
Then
sir,
only
right,
we'll
sir.
move ahead. Okay,
Sir, sir,
right.
sir, sir.
What are Israel's options? Options board.
Um, Sir, options for Israel is, sir, they may go for another Iranian IRGC commander. But they have
Okay.
known they know that Tehran has
So
already put up a strike.
yeah.
So
Uh,
if so the question that I'm asking and the question that everybody is asking is, if Tel Aviv choose to strike, because that is the available option in front of Prime Minister Netanyahu. And sir, let me also tell you, it's an informed opinion, sir. Killing of Qasem Soleimani or killing of the Brigadier General Zaidi, it did not come from let's say a small cabal of political leadership taking a call. It came from the
no,
Prime Minister himself,
no. It's
sir.
a very calculated strategy.
Very calculated, yes,
Zahidi. There's no doubt
sir,
about it.
sir,
What
sir.
are the options going ahead? That's the point.
Now,
Forget
sir,
about
now the
logic.
sir,
Don't look at the
sir,
logic. Tell me the options.
sir, Tel Aviv is going to strike. Now the
Okay.
Lord and I'm as a military commander, so you've been in those shoes. The options that you have is you strike because the Tehran has the ability to reach to you. You have proved it. Tehran has proved it that it can
Okay.
strike. Now the question is, what if Tel Aviv strikes? If Tel Aviv does, what is going to happen? So
Okay.
Tehran is going to continue, sir, to craft a balanced strategy. Now, when I say a balanced strategy,
No, no,
it
no. Don't
means,
go to balance
sir,
strategies. We'll come to that.
sir,
Don't.
sir,
You're running away. You're running ahead of the clock.
sir,
Okay.
sir, sir, right, sir.
So you
Sir.
feel that Iran will have a balanced strategy
It
and
will, sir.
Israel will strike. Okay.
It is
Okay.
now, sir. This is estimation.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is your estimation. Okay. Now
this is
let me
my
put some.
estimation, sir.
This is my put
Sir,
some logic into the whole story.
sir, right, sir.
See, let me, and then you give me your comments. The first
Sir,
thing, whatever has happened yesterday has happened. There is
sir,
no status quo ante. Neither
sir,
can Israel go back to its original thing, nor can Iran go back to its original framework of conflict.
Sure.
That's the
Sure.
first thing we have to understand. For the
Sure.
so far, they've been hitting proxies or indirect. There's no
Sure.
direct contact between the two.
Absolutely.
If you
Sure.
remember, Iran also fired in Syria, they fired at Iraq, and they fired even in Pakistan because
Sure.
they were
Yes.
getting trouble. Okay,
Yes.
and they were handling Israel through the proxies,
Sure.
the Shia militias in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, or Hezbollah, and all that. There's no direct contact. Israel also
Sure.
avoided it. Israel was also firing in Syria, Damascus, Hezbollah, or things like that. Or
Right.
go back a little, assassinations. This is the first time, even this assassination of or the killing of Zahedi was in Damascus. Not
Right.
direct, indirect.
Right, sir.
Iran has come direct. Okay, now it's a direct fight, and okay, all curtains are away.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The question: let's start from Israel. Has Israel been taught a lesson? My answer is yes and no. Yes, Israel has been taught the lesson that Iran can retaliate, and there's a likelihood of mass retaliation.
Right, sir.
Okay, there's a whatever it does, the likelihood of a mass retaliation is there. It has also been taught a lesson that look, this mass retaliation I can parry, I can get out.
Sure.
What if
Sure.
Israel hypes this attack up or gets a bigger mass in? Something will go in which will hurt Israel. So that's the yes and no part of Israel. Has Israel learned that lesson? That's the question mark. Now let's flip the question. Has
Uh,
Iran learned a lesson?
uh,
Yes and no again. Iran has now learned the lesson that whatever it does, there are limits to what it can do.
uh,
That the other
yes, sir.
side can parry it out.
Yes, certainly.
Okay?
So, so,
The second, that's the yes part of it. That would have sunk in. That is where what you say comes in strategic balance. They
so,
will try and attain strategic balance. Okay,
so,
they've also now had the bragging rights. Look, we have retaliated.
yes,
That
sir.
hardliners have been satisfied that we know how to
And
retaliate.
yes, sir.
But have they learned the lesson that they cannot be as effective? That is the question. Have they learned the lesson? If they do something else, they might bring USA and UK and even Saudi Arabia and UAE into this war. Have they learned that? So if you see, I think yesterday's both have learned some lesson and both have not learned some lesson, or rather they have taken some issues to ponder on.
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly, certainly, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So, and one thing is clear,
sir,
any miscalculation on the part of either Israel or on the part of Iran will lead to a wider conflagration.
it
And that
will.
is something which both wanted to avoid from the start.
Um,
Okay. And what
right.
about the other actors? They also wouldn't like to get drawn into this. No one would like to get drawn into this. Neither Saudi
Certainly, sir.
Arabia, nor UAE, nor US. Because then, if that happens, that axis of resistance might kick in, and then you might find Russia and China also getting into the equation. And then it leads to a major, then you're looking at World War III scenario. That's the danger where we are standing. The question is, will Israel pull back? Will Iran pull back or hold fire? When I say pull back, hold your horses. And what would be the next thing? Because the repercussions if you do one either. So just give me a thing quickly in the next 2-3 minutes on this. Where do you think this is
Sir,
going? We've
um,
seen the logic and all that. Where do you think it's going?
sir, to be very honest, IRGC is going to go for an indirect option. Now, this is, I am explicitly saying when Tel Aviv chooses to strike. And their indirect option is not only going to be involving Hezbollah, PIJ, and Hamas factions in the region. but also to influence through influence and propaganda, which is essentially to undermine Tel Aviv's interest. Now, so this is in addition to what my assessment is. IRGC is going to renew its intelligence footprint in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, which also means that they've got a concept of deterrent strategy that they will be implementing in these areas without facing the Israeli conventional military. Now, this is something that so this is all of these are pointing in that direction, sir. Which also means that sir, Tehran may also open doors of greater engagement with its potential allies. So now, at this point of time, Tehran is going to reach to its axis of resistance and additional allies, Russia, which is going to come up
Russia.
in play.
So you're talking of Russia and China,
Russia and China. Sir.
and
Yes.
will it go to Pakistan also?
So it's highly unlikely, sir. It's
Okay, so
highly
you
unlikely.
feel
In my assessment, sir, I don't predict Pakistan anywhere in this equation, sir.
okay. So Pakistan, you don't find. So it might
Sir.
reach to Russia and China. Okay,
Yes,
let me
sir.
ask you the flip question: Will Russia and China likely to get will are likely to get involved with Iran in this?
So Moscow is going to provide material support. Uh,
Okay,
this is it has been done. Now it's an open door opportunity for China. What China did with Saudi Arabia and Iran, China is going to come up with flags of peace and
yeah, it's
tranquility and prosperity.
also
That
taken.
that is going to be their place, sir.
That's all.
So,
Okay, okay. So the
so
stakes for China are high because their energy dependency on this area is very high. They
very
can't.
high.
They have to play the game absolutely in the middle. Russia
So,
might come, but Russia finds itself stuck with Ukraine. After all, there's a pressure there also. I mean, let's not forget,
so,
wish that away.
so,
So, so the stakes. So Iran might end up fighting alone. That's the thing,
so,
right? It
um,
might not get too
so,
much help. Leave narrative out because we are now
so,
talking of
so,
hard war.
so,
Next step will be hard war. That's the point.
right, sir.
Okay,
So,
narrative won't help. So now let's look at Israel. Do you think Israel will go ahead? You said earlier Israel will go and strike Iran. So how will
so,
Israel do? Will that get back to the indirect form of thing, or will there be a direct?
so it's going to go back to indirect, sir.
That's right.
It's going to
So
go
you
back to indirect, sir.
indirect. So
So,
Israel will go back to the indirect form of attacking
yes,
Iran,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
They'll avoid being direct with each other. That's
Confrontation,
the
sir.
plan, right? The direct. So are Iran's nuclear assets at risk?
Sir, Iran is at a, as I said, sir, it's at a crossroad. Not only per se with the strategic asset, but also it has proven, it has demonstrated that if you want to do a peace deal, if you want to have a peace negotiations, if you want to rescue the hostages, you can't do it without Iran. Now, if Iran is being offered a, let's say hypothetically, so it's a hypothesis, if Iran is being placed, is offered to sit on a seat of negotiation table, then sir, the nuclear program is going to come in place.
Okay. So everything is up for grabs at this point of time. Things are
So,
not clear. Uh, why I'm telling you this, everyone who's
so,
listening, is this. When you look at the commentary from Israel, you see it
so,
across the entire spectrum. There is one lot who says go in for a retaliation. There is one
so,
lot who says pull back and see how you can mend fences. We don't know
so,
what Iran is thinking because nothing has come out. And from whatever Iran has given out statements so far, it says, look, we've done the demonstration. Now we are happy with what it is. Right?
so,
Like you rightly said, Iran might not escalate the situation directly, but Israel is completely in it. The reason being why
so,
we shouldn't rule out direct action against Iran is this.
so,
Iran, Israel has been playing this indirect role and indirect attack against Iran for far too long, right? Israel might be thinking this is my chance to hit it directly and
so,
know that if an indirect approach to me happens, there'll be direct consequences. So we're going to see, in my opinion, both will be assessing the the option of going direct versus indirect.
so,
So, indirect option might invite direct responses. A direct response might a direct action might invite a indirect response.
Indirect
So
response.
yeah,
Correct.
all four are on the thing. A direct is on the cards. Indirect and indirect response is on the card, and the crisscrossing is also on the card. That's the way I look at it. Yeah,
Correct.
you have any comments on this? 2 minutes.
No, no, sir, you're absolutely right. And this time, Iran is going to be focusing much on diplomacy, sir. So it's going to be a
Hopefully.
mix of. This is what I again said. This is what I predict, sir. Iran is going to come. It's probably going to go to the UN. It has already reached out to UN. It's going to try and humiliate Tel Aviv at any point of time it comes at diplomatic levels. More importantly, so sir, there's a mix of tactics of diplomacy and some response. So the brunt of the response is going to be dealt in Gaza, sir. So you will
Okay.
see the impact to be felt in Gaza, sir. So
Look, but Gaza is actually by this direct response and direct thing, Gaza is out of the equation at this point of time.
so, yes, I understand, sir. I mean, you're very right, sir. But, sir, the I would say the response that Tehran did, it's not going to go. It doesn't finishes at that end, sir. It
Okay.
probably, I think, it starts there, sir.
Okay. Fine. So you're saying that, yeah, what you're saying is logic. From Iran's point of view, the idea is not an immediate response. The idea is not this thing. Pull back, hold back, and get back to Israel through Gaza, humanitarian conditions inside the Islamic world, and all that. And
Sir,
from the Israel point of view, they would like to avoid it and go
sir,
direct, so that the Gaza is taken out of the equation, and hereafter the talk is between Israel and Iran. So I
sir,
think overall it's a very nebulous kind of a situation. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll see how it
sir,
pans out. Because any miscalculation in this kind of a scenario means
sir,
a larger configuration, which might end up in a second world war or a third world war. Sorry, right?
sir,
Thanks for this. Um, okay, now we will switch to Afghanistan. Okay,
sir,
okay.
sir.
The thing which we really started with, as you know,
Certainly, sir,
Afghanistan has come into focus in the recent past, largely because of its pact with Pakistan, right? And the
sir,
fact that, to some extent, I feel that ISK has started putting its foot down in Afghanistan.
sure,
It's
sure,
active on the western border of Pakistan, and it is also, that attack at Crocus, which has happened,
sure,
ISK footprint. And I
sure,
think ISK is a little resurgent in this area, and it will
sure,
have its effect on Afghanistan and Taliban. So first,
sure.
let's talk of the Taliban, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the surrounding thing, where Taliban is with respect to everything, and then we'll talk a few other issues about Afghanistan. So let's first talk
Sure.
of what is the status of Taliban in Afghanistan.
So in 2023 and at the beginning of 2024, so a lot of, I would say there's significant improvement. But as we all know that Taliban lacks governance, it does not have administrative structure, it needs infrastructure, most of it are there any. So it started with in the initial 2023 we saw Taliban trying to poach Western countries to seek some respite in terms of economic development, economic aid. Then at the second half of 2023, we saw them making some efforts into, I would say, give a positive image of growth and prosperity, opening opportunities to regional economies. In the first half of 2024, sir, there was a shift in their policy. The entire focus was to seek legitimacy, as in as a legitimate entity, which gives them the I would say not only a probable entry into the to the European ecosystem, but also make them a legitimate entity in the UN. So they wanted recognition, sir.
Yeah,
If I
recognition.
may,
Yeah.
recognition.
So
If I
the
may summarize,
so
sir.
so the important point you made here is Taliban is
Uh,
seeking recognition and legitimacy,
yes,
and
sir.
they've been able to take Afghanistan through with some kind of stability. I mean, it's a
Sir.
poor stability, but it has been largely stable. And
Right,
we all know that the Afghani is doing better than the Pakistani rupee.
sir. True, true.
Yeah, their economic indicators in Afghanistan are much better than what it is in Pakistan.
Sir.
Overall, Afghanistan sounds more peaceful than Pakistan today, right?
Sir. Yes,
So
sir.
Taliban has entrenched itself. So
Yes,
see,
sir.
let's just little give a few ideas about what ISK is doing in this area.
Now, sir, ISK is a very interesting theory in this. It's very interesting to put their perspective in this. And now, sir, the idea was that after quest of recognition is going to come when there is essential, I would say, some sense of peace and prosperity in the region. Now, if you look at the trajectory of from 2023 to 2024, ISK has the attacks posed by ISK and the casualties imposed by ISK is largely is drawn down, sir, pretty much. But the ISK is a paradox, I would say, which still is heavily catered into the minds of regional economies. When I say regional economies, I'm mentioning Central Asian states. So, as part of the to lower, I would say, to bring on the platform Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan per se, there were a lot of negotiations that occurred between them. Uh, both Mutaki and the GDI, the Intelligence Directorate, all of them had numerous meetings with their counterparts in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan to give them a sense of confidence that look, the peace is stabilized. There is no war happening. There is a lesser influence in the region of ISKP per se. The recruitment has boiled down. But sir, that is not the entire story per se with ISKP. It may appear that the recruitment has drawn down, but ISKP maintains strong connections with Pakistan, sir. And let us be very honest that this is where their founding members were born. The group leaders regularly call on their supporters to carry abroad attacks abroad. They still inside try to search violence in Pakistan, where incidents related to ISKP have become more frequent, sir, after 2021. If you look at the trajectory. Now, sir, Taliban is of the context about fostering international security cooperation, particularly with ISKP. So they've talked to Iranians about it, they've talked to Russians about it, but there is a notion in them that both the Russians and Iranians are currently propagating. US supports ISKP. Now this is either from their perspective, it is something that they've propped up. The Americans call it an allegation. According to a source, a State Department, he said, these allegations are being fueled to instill Kabul's paranoia with Taliban's officials, which also echo the same thing. So this is the kind of narrative that is currently being played in the region as to who controls ISKP. So some Taliban officials say that Pakistan is providing safe haven to ISKP, and those statements have rather added rising tensions between Kabul and Islamabad, where Islamabad is Kabul is accusing Islamabad of using ISKP to infiltrate in the region, and Islamabad is saying, you use Tehrik-e-Taliban essentially to as an insurgency mounting in the areas where they attack Pakistani army and police forces. Again, Taliban officials have frequently said it in communication to me off the record that they have suspicions that Tajikistan could probably be main source of ISKP recruits. So having a channel conversation with ISKP and then having a channel conversation with Tajikistan, interacting with Taliban, and then Tajikistan being blamed to probably provide recruits to ISKP. This is a very interesting context that have come up with respect to ISKP. Now, so the idea is so Iran has also started hinting that they'll work with Taliban in terms of counterterrorism. They've also said that countries like US and others, which has essentially fueled this as to I would say undermine Kabul and their security apparatuses. Taliban's GDI have neutralized a lot of ISKP leaders. There is also, according to Tehran, Taliban's intelligence have matured. They are more effective. They are more precise. In 2022, Taliban carried a series of raids that killed very prominent figures in the ISKP, including their deputy leader, interim leader, intelligence chief, head of judiciary. So that means they've been neutralizing a lot of ISKP threats. And it is also true in taking a look at the trajectory right now, sir, that the ISKP attacks have declined, but the recruitment towards ISKP is still on the rocks. As in, it's
Right.
still
So,
increasing, sir.
okay. So that means ISKP is not weakening, it is strengthening. The
Sir,
recruitment is going up. Okay.
sir.
And they are posing some kind of a threat to Taliban, whether you like it or not. I
Right,
mean,
sir.
if all this action is happening, Taliban
Sir.
is feeling the heat, right?
Right, sir. Right, sir.
And from what you said, that it appears that ISKP is a bit of a loose cannon out here.
Sir.
Okay,
It is,
is it with
essentially.
Pakistan? Is it with
Sir.
Pakistan, or is it with USA? Is a question mark. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Sir.
Or what is Tajikistan's role in this is also a question mark. Okay,
Sir.
many reports say that ISK is acting against Pakistan. It's
Sir.
creating problems in Pakistan. There are
Yes,
also
sir.
reports that ISI is harboring, fomenting, ISK. So
Right,
all
sir.
this thing. So what is your opinion on this? Let me ask you, because
Uh,
it's a confusing kind of a
it's,
scenario.
it's very confusing because I also tell the audience the ISKP is of the objective to become a more potent transnational threat, which many scholars have continued to argue whether is this is this question even relevant? Does it have the operational authority and the financial crunch that is currently facing? Because ISKP being a part of the larger gambit of IS at some point of time, financial remunerations coming in terms of Hawala and other transactions from Syria and Iraq, which has largely been cordoned after the operation that conducted by Americans and then their allies. But on the other hand, sir, Taliban and Iran are of the opinion they've said it jointly, they've said it independently, and then they, I would say, territory of ISKP is near a Pakistan border. And this is proven, this according to the Taliban, they're saying because they've eliminated group cells, certain lone as well as group sleeper individuals, sleeper cells in Uzbekistan and Tajikistan in 2022. And the group has, but then, sir, the group has not launched any further, I mean, they've not launched any cross-border attacks since then. So since 2022, the cross-border implication is silent. But the recruitment, if you see in the
It's
areas
gone
of
up.
South Asia, it's
Yeah,
definitely
it's
gone up.
gone up. It's gone up. So what you said is that ISK has a larger transnational ambition,
Uh,
right?
right,
And
sir.
that
It
is
has.
very clear because it's gone and attacked that Crocus in Moscow. It's also carried
Uh,
out an attack in Iran,
uh,
on that Soleimani's in Kerman, right?
in
When
yes, in
when his
Kaman.
anniversary, that attack is also there. It is active in Pakistan also.
So,
Um, some people say that the recent Dasu attack was done by ISK. There also a
so,
report which says that was done by TTP. So we don't know
so,
what it is. So there is a whole lot of things. So ISK is a potent force here. There's no doubt about it. But
so,
Taliban remains stable and it has been able to stabilize. And then there is problems now between Taliban and Pakistan. There's no
so,
doubt about it, right? We know
so,
all that. And Pakistan is feeling the
absolutely.
heat. And there is
So,
also uh, uh, undeniable fact that TTP is giving a lot of pain to Pakistan.
yes, sir.
On that, there's no doubt. So
Absolutely.
also the Baluch rebels
Yes, sir.
against Pakistan. So it's a cocktail. It's a heady
So,
cocktail. We don't know who's going after whom. Okay.
so, so,
Is there a case? Just give a quick this thing. Is there a case
so.
where ISK starts supporting TTP?
Now it's very interesting, sir. If you look at the two entities, TTP and ISK. Now, TTP has a representative who sits in the Shura, in the
Hmm.
Akhundazada Shura. So the
Yeah.
orders, the dissipation, everything
Everything
comes
comes
from.
through them.
So,
Hmm.
so if we can say that it's a part of an organized structure. It's a part of an organized initiative. Now, ISKP is loose of funds, has members, disgruntled members of the Taliban. They have members of the former Afghan special operations. They have members of the former Afghan army. They have
Hmm.
members who hate the Taliban. They have members who want to, who couldn't rise up the ranks in the Taliban of some way or the other. They're
And they come
disgruntled. They
here.
want to join. They come here.
Hmm.
Now it's a ragtag militia that let's say, follows the flag of ISKP. It is not the ideology that still carries in the way that it did with Abu Bakr Baghdadi or after his death, the following
Okay.
leadership that came in. It is an initiative, it is a militia that unanimously hates the Taliban. Now, we can also call them Islamist mercenaries who
Yes, it,
would do anything for any point of time if you give
yeah.
them some amount of money for their sustenance. If you give them money, will they go against the Pakistan? Absolutely yes. If you give them money, that is the reason why the Tajiks, I mean the Iranians and the Taliban is essentially saying that it's the Americans pumping money to them and saying,
They'll do
do
act
this.
against.
They'll do because we all know, sir, this
So
is
it's a
something that
loose
they did.
cannon.
It's a
It's a
loose
loose
cannon.
cannon. Okay.
It's a loose cannon. It's a gun for
Okay.
hire, sir.
Okay. Is can they be used by the Chinese?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, sir. They can. Because
So they,
again, sir, but again, sir, there is a point of contention. They can be used, but the question is, sir, will the Chinese use it? Because you've got Uyghurs in ISKP.
uh,
So what the Chinese are doing, what the Beijing is doing, they are providing, I would say, reconnaissance support to Taliban's GDI.
Taliban
They've got
to
their
eliminate.
to eliminate them. So, sir, it's very
Hmm.
interesting. According to one source that I had a conversation with, they apprehended the ISKP Uyghurs. They segregated them when they apprehended them. There was a systematic ethnic based segregation. Tajiks and Uzbeks were shot point blank. Uyghurs were wrapped up with a black on them, and then they sent into some random location nowhere to be found. So
Okay.
the idea is they could have probably been handed over to Beijing. They could have
But
had
I mean, that's fine. That's the thing. So China's hand will be there in this whole
yeah,
story.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, sir.
Now we'll come to the guts of what we wanted to speak. What about India, Taliban in this kind of a scenario, and how do we handle the Indian
Uh,
Hezbollah? India, Afghanistan, larger India, Taliban, and what should be our strategy? Yeah.
Sir, it's very interesting the way we come into play because as we know, it's not something that is history. We have been I wouldn't call it absent, but we've been watching it from a very careful position, trying to balance what the perspective is of the Taliban, trying to gauge them. There was a tussle for the embassy in the early 2021. But then we knew that the ambassador is there. Ambassador comes and takes over. Then again, the embassy in not less than a year or probably less than a year says that we don't have funds. The embassy shuts down. Um, but sir, the idea is, I would rather put it in what is the perspective of New Delhi and the Taliban's perspective of New Delhi. So this is also equally important, sir. What does Taliban want from us, and what does we want from them? And Mutaki has considered IEA, that is the Islamic Emirate, or the Emirate of Afghanistan, to be significant bilateral perspectives, friends, allies, greater interaction between public officials. He used these words very interchangeably. Fostering regional initiatives, bilateral growth, provide soft infrastructure development, has the means and mechanisms to do it, provide technical assistance, open new doors and avenues. These are something that he and Kabul per se uses it. But the idea is when I balance New Delhi and Kabul, New Delhi has taken up a synchronized policy of region first approach, developing confidence in regional economies. And this is not necessarily with Kabul. This is a universal approach towards South Asia, regional first approach, developing confidence in regional economies, opening doors, not only in select sectors that mutually benefit, but in vivid sectors, integrating regional development, bringing multi-sectoral initiatives so that the nations can grow together. The same can be applied here. Will it be applied? It's it's I mean, sir, it's too far-fetched because we are the largest donor to Afghanistan, pledging a whooping amount of 3 to 4 billion, sir. And we've had multiple discussions with the technical team with the Indian mission there. Alhamdulillah Numani, the Taliban's Minister for Urban Development, has been interacting with the Indian mission since December 2022. They have requested us to initiate projects. They've invited us in developing new suburb towns. Multiple discussions over visas have been happening. They've requested us now. They've started requesting it that to create a dedicated scholarship program for Afghan students uh, currently studying in India, or they want to come and study in India. So the idea is, Taliban has been saying this to us for very long time. Now, what is our perspective? How do we see Taliban? And again, this is my perception, sir. Uh, for New Delhi, strengthening the bilateral engagement will again potentially limit or will create the Axis Alliance initiative in Afghanistan. I would say Pakistan and China. They will limit the influence of Pakistan and China, which could elevate our position or probably make an I would say strategic entry into the great power competition, great game, whatever you intend to call it,
Yeah, so that, yeah,
limiting.
yeah, there's a logic in what you're saying that when we
Sir,
enter
sir,
Afghanistan, Pakistan's role and China's role will get limited. And
yes,
it
sir,
also appears to me that the Afghanis also, Taliban in Afghanistan, are also reaching
sir,
out to India so that they can hedge their bets, so that they are
right, sir,
not too dependent on China and Pakistan. Isn't it so?
right, sir.
Right?
And in it, right, sir, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, sir,
Yeah, go ahead.
however, sir, there is still something we know as whatever today, if we look at the engagement between Kabul and New Delhi, it appears to be tactical and it does reflect pragmatism. It does reflect the concerns that we have expressed about regional security. We constantly evaluate implications from short-term policy on not only regional security as well, or regional growth as well, or as well as to our national security, sir. Um, and this is one of the, this is, I would say, this is where we shortfall, sir. And the engagement intend to be, all engagements are intended to be a long-term strategic foresight. And still today, it is unclear whether New Delhi aims to have a long-term strategic collaboration or it aims to evaluate potential possibilities. Because the pattern of policymakers that have been reached out to Taliban, the engagement that has been happening with Taliban, reflects that the urgency has been to achieve short-term objectives, which may include limiting the influence of Islamabad and Beijing, sir.
So that means there is a bit of a hesitancy and ambivalence on the part of Delhi to reach
Sir,
out to Taliban beyond a point. Yeah, it wants to reach
sir,
out, but there are no
sir,
guarantees. And I'll go with Delhi at this point of time. We don't know whether we can trust the Taliban fully or not. But
sir,
the fact is that we have to be there is not lost on us, and we must start
sir,
talking, and we must, and most importantly, the way I look at it,
sir.
you have to reach out to the Afghan people. Whatever we can
Yes,
do
sir.
to help the Afghan people, keep the people on our
Sir,
side. See,
sir,
governments go and come and go. Taliban today, something else will come up tomorrow. But the people of
sir,
Afghanistan, we need to reach out, right?
sir.
So,
Right, sir.
so you feel that something more can be done or something less should be done.
Sir, definitely more, sir, because I would say that, sir, the policy, the current policy that I say that I reflect in the argument, uh, you may feel that it's more of a predicament. But as we all know, the level of diplomacy that we have been having with Afghanistan, or I would say the Islamic Afghanistan and the Emirate today, um, we have specific objectives to fulfill, and this demonstrates that we still today, and which has been echoed by our Prime Minister, which has been echoed by our leadership and the MEA over and over again, that the responsible, which even you said, sir, that the responsible stakeholder we are, we are attributed as a responsible stakeholder in the lives of local Afghans, which also means that we are committed to foster regional security and growth. So we are balancing the two, sir. But the relationship needs to grow beyond natural, civilizational, and strategic expectations. But also, it needs to have pragmatism, and it needs to suit regional growth. Maybe may achieve short term and medium term, but also may not necessarily be strategic. This is something that
Yeah, it's not a
I
it's a tactical arrangement for
it's
short
a
term
tactical
use.
arrangement, sir. Yes, sir.
The Taliban also wants us. We also want them. So
Sir.
it's I'll put it without it's a doctrine of necessity which is going to operate out here,
Right, sir.
right?
Right, sir.
And
And
so that's
sir,
how, yeah.
Sir,
And yeah,
sir, to yeah, so I'm sorry, sir. I just wanted
yeah,
to
yeah,
add
good,
a
good.
caveat. I just wanted to add a caveat here, sir. We've been today. It's an opportunity. The reason why I say it's an opportunity is today when you look at the Rahabari Shura, it is more disgruntled members than ever, uh, which used to echo Islamabad's influence. So Islamabad exercising influence on Rahabari Shura is largely diminished, and I would say largely diminished because earlier Islamabad had a representative or certain representatives that they could influence sit in the Rahabari Shura. Even those representatives or any representative that they may have nominated, the echo of Islamabad influence is negligible. It's nullified, which gives us a unique position not only to carry the element of fostering people to people relations, but we also carry the weight of I would say as a stakeholder in the eyes of the local people, which Taliban can't question. Which means that we now have a subtle move to sideline the Pakistani factor in India's Afghan policy for once and for all. Now, this also means that, sir, we have an opportunity to interact from people to people initiatives, small scale industries, business houses, greater cultural connect, and make a positive impact on people directly, sir.
Yeah, so that is an opportunity which we should not let go. But at the
Sir.
same time, we are in a quandary that you can't put too many eggs in the Taliban basket.
And in the Taliban basket, sir.
Yet, and we need to directly reach out to the people and
Sir.
people to people thing, and the people to people contact will automatically start sidelining Pakistan because Pakistan can't be eliminated from this game, right? On
Sir.
that, I have no doubt. So this is where we are in Afghanistan. Overall, we need to go ahead. So I'll take
Sir.
some questions, right? And we'll take questions both on Israel, Iran, and also Afghanistan as we go along. Okay.
Sir.
Okay. This is a question by Gutsy. What is India doing to counter Western warmongering, or is it that India will act only when the war reaches India's shores? Will India do anything to protect Russia against Western aggression? Look, at this point of time, it's too early to say that warmongering is going on. That
Sir.
I don't think is the right thing because there's no warmongering. People are now trying to get out of that warmongering kind of a situation. Okay, and India is acting already. We're already there in handling piracy. We're already there talking to people. Okay, today, despite all our election halobola, the external affairs minister said we're taking some action already. Right, we are in touch with all people, all actors. First and foremost is we have a huge diaspora which is there, which we have to safeguard. So things are
Sir.
happening, and India does not need to protect Russia against Western aggression. Russia will take care of itself. Don't worry. Okay, Russia is a big player, so you don't have to protect it. Okay,
Sir.
right. The conflict in the Middle East may be allowed to escalate with the overall objective to give China a wake-up call and to back off from its excessively aggressive style and stance. Your views?
Mm.
So there's no question of allowing anything to escalate.
To be very honest, yes, sir.
Yeah, there's no question because the escalation is going to be uncontrollable and dangerous from this present
Sir.
situation. Saner
Sir.
minds have to prevail and the situation has to be pulled back. And what you
Right,
see
sir.
is that China doesn't have a play in this at all. So far, we have not seen what China can do in this entire game. So let us see
Sir.
how things move. But I think China stands marginalized in the Middle East to a large extent. Though everyone says China, 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 China itself has not been able to do anything.
Right,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Why doesn't West try and weaken Iran by quoting favor with their allies, by isolating people like Assad? Syria forced to rely on Iran and allow his territory to be used by proxies. Uh,
May I,
you
sir?
know, yeah, yeah, good, good, good.
So to be very honest, it's the and let me tell you, sir, the question itself has now become an irony, sir. Ironically, uh, there are speculations that Israelis had a back channel conversation with Assad, and they said we will give you. There was some. It's all speculative, and what has come out in the public media or in the open sources, um, now the Assad regime is going to give some tentative timeline to Tehran, or the Israelis have made some pact with Assad that they're trying to dissociate themselves with Tehran's influence in the region, in particularly in Syria. So by isolating people like Assad, I think you need people like Assad, sir. And with having because they play both sides. So whomsoever you intend to have, if you attain power or strategic power at some levels, people like Assad can be used at some point of time, sir. They are
Yeah, not
strategic
only and yeah,
allies.
and there's a limit to what you can cut off Iran from its allies. Okay,
Sure.
because Russia and China will not let Iran down, and Iran itself
Yes.
will not. Yeah, so
Sure,
there are issues, and one of the biggest follies of the U.S. enterprise in this entire area for the past 20 years, if you've seen,
sure.
you know, before the Gulf Wars,
Hmm.
Saddam Hussein was a big counter to Iran. If
Iran.
Iran was worried about anyone, it was Saddam Hussein.
Oh, yes.
Okay, by
Yes.
taking out Saddam Hussein, the one counter to Iran has been taken out, and today
Sure.
Iraq is a Shia majority area, which has
Sure.
now come under the influence of Iran. So
Sure.
whatever West has done is against itself.
Sure.
A short-sighted approach, and that's how it is. So we'll leave it at that. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. Next. Uh, Ask Mishra ji, will Netanyahu launch attack on Iran tonight as per Israel's response within with 24, 48 hours time claim?
Sure. I'll ask him and tell you. That's
No,
the
look,
that's
look, I
the
told
that's
you,
the only.
look, no, no, not that way. Let me put it. Look, कोई भी बोल देता है गर्मी में ना 48 आवर्स 48 आवर्स सो दीज थिंग्स विल टेक टाइम ये इतना जल्दी होगा नहीं हो
Absolutely.
भी सकता है इट कैन हैपन but it might not happen. My gut feeling is everyone is going to take a pause after this. Like we are
Sure.
talking, you see, like I was to talk today of Afghanistan, but I still veered into Iran history. So
Sure.
everyone is going to discuss it and then come to something and then take a call. It's not going to happen so easily. Look,
Right.
something
Sure.
happened yesterday and in the past 1 week, which has changed a lot of equations. Like I said, there's a huge strategic shift which has taken place. This
Sure.
geostrategic shift and has will get a new balance in, and that actors in this balance are completely out of place. That has not come about. Okay,
Sure.
yeah. Right, Shaikat Ghoshal. Will India recognize Taliban as a legitimate government and entity? If so, if no, then why Indian diplomats visiting Afghanistan and talking with Taliban?
Uh, it's you cannot so it's very difficult to legitimately recognize an entity which never came legitimately. It came by power. And it's not just India, it's no country has recognized. Even China sent an ambassador without recognizing the legitimacy of Taliban themselves. So no, New Delhi will not recognize. To the question very very appropriately and very correctly, we are not ragtag of a bunch of militia that came together and form a government. We are a democratic, we are an economy that principle lies in democracy. So and we have a Geneva Convention, we have rules that we abide in terms of
Yeah,
international cooperation. If no, why and diplomats visiting Afghanistan? We all, as we all know, we have studied in class 12th in NCRT since our ages. India and Afghan relations have been ancestral. It has been historical.
yeah,
The roots of our relationship is sowed so deep that most of the Afghans that I know speak Hindi, and they love to speak Hindi to me. They don't speak to me in Dari and Pashto. So this is the level of, I would say, attachment, and this is the level of, I would say, um, affection that they have towards the people of India. So this is something you can't take away. And
and not only that,
uh,
everyone must remember that India must maintain its links with Afghanistan. right?
Yeah.
It should not. We paid a heavy price for not having links with Taliban 1.0 earlier. Okay, we lost Afghanistan. That's how Pakistan got the strategic space and strategic depth there. Okay, we don't want such a situation to develop again. And especially
Yeah.
when Taliban is a little more moderate than the earlier version, it's better to keep things going and regain our influence, which is more
And we can
important for us.
very important. Very
That's
important.
the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Uh, how can India help Afghanistan in defending its airspace from Pakistani Air Force?
It's very very interesting, sir. We defending. I think in the current stance, Pakistani Air Force has is more insecure about their assets lying in bases in secured air bases like it happened in Myanmar than anywhere else. Forget about the air assets flying up in the air. Their ground assets, their air assets on ground in stations and hangars are themselves insecure. So I don't think so. We need we need even to go there that far to defend Afghanistan's airspace.
No, no.
Um,
How can we help Afghanistan defend its own airspace? Look, if things push comes to a shove, it might be a considered decision on the part of countries like USA and India and others to even provide Afghanistan with some air defense weapons and train them.
uh,
But that push
yeah,
has not come to a shove so far. And my view is, as far as Pakistan keeps using this air force, okay,
yeah,
against
yeah,
Afghanistan, it is losing Afghanistan even more, right?
yeah.
So we don't have to do anything, but there is a point to be considered at the right time. Maybe we could start training the the Taliban army, whatever you call, to defend its own airspace, especially against Pakistan. But that's a thing which is far away.
It's a far fetched. That's very long
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. Okay, this Nauman Shah, I think, is from Pakistan. He says, "What are counter-terror operations?" He's asking this to me. How do two countries
Okay.
conduct these ops? Please elaborate. Look, counter-terror operations are against any terrorist group. Okay, it depends on whether it's a counter-terror is against a particular incident or it's against general eradicating terror from an area. There's very little difference between counter terror ops, counter insurgency, and counter militia ops and all. They are in the same category, and you have to do broad-based operations,
Yeah.
intelligence-based operations, intelligence-based elimination of terrorists, and you keep them on the move. You decrease their places where they can sit down and develop their thinking, their logistics basis. If they are there, you knock them off. The support basis you address, win the support basis over. These are the general counter terror operations, right? And then, of course, if they're an incident based thing, then you do specific neutralize that terrorist, even a hijacking or anything like that, or okay, on a suicide attack or something like that. Or an ambush. How do you do that? It's a different story. That's active. Two countries conducting this ops, it depends on the kind of training the two countries have done. What are the protocols between the two countries to carry out joint terror ops? Because joint terror ops is very difficult. Two countries can't do it very easily. It has to be done largely by one country with another country supporting it. Both countries
Yeah.
can't get into operations so fast because the norms, protocols, the way people do things, their culture, history, everything comes differently. In my way of thinking and my experience, it'll take a long time before we start doing counter-terror ops with another country. Okay, and you saw the problems which happened between Pakistan and USA. Even
Mm.
USA didn't allow Pakistan to do counter-terror operations. They said either you do it or we'll do it, right? So that's how it is. Okay. Uh, okay. Afghanistan is keeping Pak busy on its western flank while the eastern flank is relatively peaceful. It would be useful to maintain this state in the foreseeable future. Your views? Yeah, Mishra, take it on.
Sir, in the eastern flank is relatively peaceful. Okay, so I wouldn't call it relatively peaceful. The Baluchis have now slowly in getting into the Pakistan occupied Kashmir as well. So we wouldn't call it relatively peaceful. And um, it's if I give you a picture of how the northern front, the northwestern frontier province looked like, is a significant portion have been controlled by the Tehrik-e-Taliban. Some is by the HDB group, and then the BLA. BLA has expanded its influence because at some point of time they fear that their identity is going to be threatened. They probably the TTP is going to be so powerful that HDB is going to become, I would say, a sister unit of TTP, and then BLA will be forced to go for a civil war engagement between them. So BLA has started coming to the eastern flank, which is now going to be less relatively peaceful. So it's a two-pronged, a pincer movement that you can see for the frontier force or for the north on the northern provinces where the Pakistani establishment have their military assets and their military commands. So it's a pincer movement that we see today right now, which is happening. Hence, in the foreseeable future, it's going to be the BLA, the HGB, and the TTP all moving inwards towards towards marching towards Islamabad. So this is how it is going to be, and it's not going to be relatively peaceful. It's going to be it's potentially going to be a civil war.
Okay. So there's a potential civil war in Pakistan going to happen in the near future, as per you, or
Sure,
I wouldn't say near future, in any future.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Right. Uh, Ask Mishra ji and Norman Sheikh. Okay, your take on Pashtun nationalist factor in Afghanistan Pashtuns and Pakistan Pashtuns. Are they moving towards political union against Pakistan Punjabis eventually?
So politically, the nationalism within the Pashtuns on the other end. So Durand ke us par, if I see that wo political narrative, the political notion has not been developed. Ethnic the sense of ethnicity is deep ingrained in them, but politically they've not been activated because today Taliban is an entity. It does not let you think in a political perspective. The moment a provincial commander becomes a political narrative, it threatens Akhund Dada himself. So he's not of the opinion that one should have a political opinion beside him, the Amir himself, who decides as to what is going to happen to the fate of the Afghan Pashtuns. Now, their narrative is that we are all Pashtuns. It doesn't really work like you're a Pakistan Pashtun or you're an Afghan Pashtun. We are all Pashtuns. Hence, the context, the confrontation towards Durand Line comes into play. Now, the political union against the Pak Punjabis is currently not in play because the narrative that TTP and the Pashtuns are playing is, look what they have done to us. Look
So
what they
this
can do to
that
you
yeah, yeah. So that means it's in the whole thing is in a process,
in a
right?
process.
And yeah,
Yes.
okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay.
So,
Short question: can Taliban conquer Pakistan?
I mean, so I'm
Yeah,
very,
you say yes or
I'm
no.
very amazed. I'm in awe of the questions coming in, sir. And it's a very logical question. I mean, futuristically thinking, if we can go as far-fetched as possible, can Taliban conquer Pakistan? I would rather say, does Taliban need to conquer Pakistan? So
Yeah.
all they have to do is take the northern front. You take away the northwestern frontier province from them. What is there? You take away the Baluchi part of it. What is Pakistan?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Okay. Norman Shah says, "I'm no Paki. Don't insult me." Sorry, Norman. I right. I didn't mean it that way. My apologies to you. I have no problem. Look, I don't mind apologizing to anyone if I make a mistake. Okay. So don't this thing. Right. Mm, yeah. Okay. He says General Shah Norman Sheikh is from India. He's an Indian person. Right. I'm okay with it. I'm sorry. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay. Let's take this. Is China looking for
Okay.
alternative CPC through Wakhan corridor to Iran Chabahar port as part of BRI? Is this likely? I will put it this way.
Yes, sir, it is highly likely that Tehran is definitely going to open a land front uh, for to get into to connect with China and then move all the way to Moscow. So this is something that this is something that is there, sir. Now, is China looking for alternative CPEC? China is going to expand CPEC through to the Wakhan corridor, and it's not going to be CPEC. It's going to connect CPEC with BRI. So Wakhan corridor is part of their Belt and Road Initiative, which is then goes down the lane deep. It crosses over, connect all the way to the Badakhshan province, and then it goes all the way to the Xinjiang province. So this is the route that is going for a BRI, and then through BRI they are going to have a rail connect that is going to connect directly from Karachi to Kabul, Herat, and then they're going to implement the railway implementation plan that the erstwhile Afghan regime had implemented, the fourth section of the railway implementation plan, which is going to expand the 57 kilometers that is currently there of the railway, and it is going to make a whole circular movement from the eastern province connecting to the southern province, and then in the northern part of Pakistan is going to get connected. So this is how they aim, and then
Yeah,
all the way go.
wait. Yeah,
Yeah,
before if you paint a picture, let me tell you,
yeah,
Saikar,
yeah.
all this is all हवा में बात. ठीक है, इसमें पैसा एक नहीं लगा जमीन पे. ये सब
Yeah.
बोलने वाली बात है. ये कौन करेगा, कब करेगा, कौन सा, ये ख्वाब है ये. सो वी लीव इट एट दैट. अभी जो सीपीसी है वो ही बन नहीं पा रहा, आप अफगानिस्तान ले गए. अफगानिस्तान में ये नहीं पता चल रहा कि बंदा आ रहा है या जा रहा है. ठीक है, तो आप ये कहाँ सीपीसी कॉरिडोर वगैरह, बहुत दूर की बात है. Look, let me tell you, I know the officer very intimately, the one who's done a road between Zaranj and Delaram. Okay, and that connects to Kabul. That means it connects. The whole idea was to connect Kabul with Iran border. Iran border down to Chabahar port was our grand plan. We made that road. But if you hear what happened in that thing, it's a story by itself. And if you think
I
all
understand.
these railway lines, they will come and then they will function, after
Uh,
railway आ गया तो it has to run, no? And that China will do everything. भैया चाइना कोई क्या है, वो मार्स से नहीं आया या वो किसी और मंडल से नहीं आया, वो यही का है. वो 4 फुट गिट्टा है वो, और कुछ नहीं है. सोच तेज है पर उससे ज्यादा ज्यादा नहीं है उसका. ठीक है.
uh,
Alright, so okay, as my as per my understanding, Taliban are our old allies in Afghanistan. Due to our new relationship with Taliban, how are those left in old alliance are feeling? Any room for compromise there? I don't think they were our old allies at all, Taliban. Were they?
Sir, Taliban, because we chose sides with the Northern Alliance, and
Yeah, they are not our old allies. In fact, Taliban was a creation of Pakistan. Taliban 1.0 is a complete Pakistan entity, you know, which were born out of the Mujahideen, which they created, which fought
yes,
the Russia war. Our overflow of that is Taliban. So they were never our friends. We were friends, like you said, with the Northern Alliance.
sir.
Taliban 2.0 also, we were never friendly. Okay. Taliban 2.0, the current lot wanted to keep us out of all the Doha talks, everything in the history. If you go back past 3 4 years, now it is their requirement that they want a hedge against Pakistan, and it's our requirement that we want uh, to curb Pakistan's strategic depth. So we are starting to talk. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, right. What are the questions? Okay, Shritik says Taliban have formed a committee to repatriate stolen properties of Hindus, Sikhs. Why this outreach? To curry favor with India, or is it there some other motive, as they really don't care about minorities?
I don't think so, sir. To be very honest, Taliban. If I tell you, उनका जो प्रोविंशियल लेवल का जो स्ट्रक्चर है, they don't even themselves know how much a Pashtun or a Tajik or an Uzbek in their province owns the land, sir. They don't have land records. They don't have the idea of what it is. So forget about giving repatriating stolen properties. They can't even repatriate their properties owned by their own mujahids, sir.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
this is this is a very this is a facade, to be very honest, sir.
Yeah, okay. So then the next question, right, is okay, let's ask this. Citizens shout Islam every 15 seconds. Do you see Taliban taking over Pakistan or indirectly imposing Sharia law in Pakistan?
There's a lot of motivation, sir. Taliban is going to be happy hearing taking Pakistan.
Yeah, no, no, nothing will happen. I don't see Taliban will can't look. Taliban doesn't have that capability to take over everything. It has Taliban through TTP will create problems for Pakistan, and that will remain. So leave it at that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Interestingly, whenever there is a strike by Iran or their proxies, India-bound cargo ships captured or hijacked or Qatar Navy Indian officials like situation arose. Iran, Russia, Pakistan, Qatar can't trust. Oh, he's looking at
He's
India. Look, it, it's just that a lot of Indian people are employed by these marine companies. Okay, so it shows you how much India has spread. Okay,
uh,
so it's not. This is not a India-bound cargo ship is not the issue. Which flag it flies is the bigger issue
issue.
when you
Yes,
capture it. Okay,
yes.
so okay, look at this. Six returning to Afghanistan. Taliban say they are as much as Afghanistan as we are. How do you see this?
So were Tajiks and Uzbeks, and so were Hazaras. Hazaras were persecuted in a way that the last Hazara commander was shot when he was running towards Iran. So
Hmm.
I
Yeah, there's another question he's got. Ask Anand sir, you'll see what they do with Sikh properties. Wait for a surprise, a good one. He
he
feels
gave me
that.
a heart emoji, sir.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Look, one of the best things that can happen to us is that our relations with Afghanistan normalize. That is the best thing, which will happen.
So,
And as you
so
see, Pakistan and Afghanistan relationships will go downhill. There's no doubt about it. I don't have doubt about it. And
so
Pakistan will keep looking towards its west for years to come. And because all this has got to do with ultimately Pakistan, I'm clarifying it here now only. Okay.
uh,
So Pakistan is in trouble, and people talk of two front, four front. ये वो कुछ नहीं होगा. पाकिस्तान लटकता रहेगा काफी दिन तक हम खुश रहेंगे. Be happy. Okay. Great episode tonight with knowledge and humor too. That's great. Okay. Arunachal says Muslim ideology is a binder, loosening but not enough among the brotherhood. Yeah. Any views on that you have?
I can't comment on Muslim ideology per se, sir, because
The
it
radical
will be
ideology is something. No, no. The
radical
radical
is
ideology
different, sir. Yes, sir.
is different. That we
Yes,
don't mix Islam with radicalism. Uh,
yes, sir.
across the board. There are Islamist countries which are devout Islamist countries, and you respect them. But
Yes, sir.
there is strains of radicalism in some countries. Okay, for example, the Taliban were also radical. Today, they are doing self de-radicalization. Whether you like
So,
it or not, the TTP is a radical kind of a outfit. Okay, the BLA is probably not so radicalized. You find guys like LET and all Jayesh and all, they have completely radicalized outfits. You
so,
find ISK will be radicalized because they are full of such guys, and they use a radical ideology. So don't paint everyone with the same brush, right? We should know what is the difference between normal Muslim countries, normal Islamic countries, and what are the how what is the element of radicalization which is there in some of these Islamic countries. Not everyone
Yeah.
has this radical element. Okay, okay. Uh, so yeah, that's where it is. Arunachal says before we have normalization of relations, that country has to normalize. I agree with you. You can't go and have relations with a country where there's radicalism rampant. That is why
Sure.
with Taliban you can never trust them even now.
Sure.
So you have to be very careful and calibrated as to what kind of relations you have with them, right? And if and when they become normal, we'll see them. Okay. So I
Sure.
think we have, yeah, look at him. He says, Anand sir, what's your X handle? Wanna share information? So give your, what's your Twitter handle?
I'm not on Twitter, sir.
Okay, so he's not on Twitter, so get to him on the email. Okay, right. So that's how it is, and I think we'll call it a day. I think we've had a good evening. We've covered two important aspects: what next for Iran and Israel, and of course, what next for India and Afghanistan, and what's last for Pakistan. Okay, that's their headache. And I think we enjoyed the flavor of Starbucks from where Anant is sitting. I
Certainly.
hope you
So
have
the
a cup of
aroma,
coffee after
the,
this.
the Bengaluru aroma of coffee, sir.
Yeah, Bangalore aroma of coffee. Enjoy yourself. A good, fun, frolic kind of an evening. Thanks a
Yes,
lot
sir.
for all of you who have attended. Thanks a lot, Anant. Till next time, and we catch up. Bye. Good evening and good night.
Sir. Good night, sir.
And Jai Hind.